Look at your hands. Look at the screen in front of you, at the solid walls enclosing this room. Everything seems perfectly real, self-evident, and objective. But there is a startling truth we routinely ignore. That entire world does not exist out here the way you see it. It exists in only one place, inside the cortex of your brain. Without eyes to capture light, without a brain to translate wavelengths, color is completely meaningless. The sky is not blue. The rose is not red. The physical world we touch every day is a painted picture, a translation executed by our senses. We call this state the world as representation. Imagine reality as a grand theater. You see the sparkling stage lights, hear instruments playing, and watch characters moving back and forth. You believe in the play, but all that structure, space, time, and causality does not belong to the universe itself. They are the structural design of the cognitive glasses you have worn since birth. You are locked inside your own perception. Ancient Eastern philosophy calls this the veil of Maya, the mist of illusion that conceals ultimate reality. We go through life loving, hating, accumulating wealth, fighting for status, all based on reflections on the wall of our cognitive cave. But the core question is, what lies behind that veil? Behind the shell of representation lies the will. It is a primal metaphysical impulse, a blind, irrational energy, aimless and untiring. It has no eyes to see, no ears to hear. It possesses only one single command, a desperate hunger to exist. It is willing to consume itself just to keep going. Look at nature. Why do magnets attract iron? Why does sap push from roots to treetop against gravity? Why does a hawk dive with ruthless precision? This is not rational design. It is the compulsion of the universal will. Everything, from a free-falling stone to the movements of stars, is driven by this same subterranean energy. Your body is not a tool governed by reason. Intellect is just a thin layer of foam floating on the surface. When you feel hunger, it is the will demanding tissue preservation. When you feel fear, it is the will screaming within the biological system to protect its existence at all costs. We deceive ourselves into believing we have free will. But our mind is like a blind man riding on the back of a giant, raging elephant. The blind man holds the reins thinking he is in control. But whenever the elephant turns due to primal instinct, the rider must comply. There is nowhere the will deceives us more subtly and ruthlessly than in romantic love. Why do we experience moments of infatuation that strip away all reason? In fact, romantic love is a biological trap perfectly set by the universe. The ultimate aim of all love affairs is brutally practical, the composition of the next generation. The will knows that if humans used pure intellect to weigh the sacrifice of raising children, we would refuse. Therefore, the will must blindfold the intellect with the illusion of love. Opposites attract follows the rule of genetic correction. A short person is drawn to a tall person. An impulsive soul seeks a calm partner. You think it is a spiritual harmony, but it is the biological machinery silently neutralizing your genetic imbalances in the future offspring. What is the greatest tragedy? The person most ideal for producing a balanced child is almost always the worst person to live with for the rest of your life. Once the biological aim is achieved, the veil drops instantly. You wake up chained to someone with whom you share nothing in intellect or lifestyle. When not in love, Is our life any happier? The answer is quite the opposite, because the fundamental nature of life is a pendulum swinging constantly between two states, pain and boredom. The moment the goal is reached, satisfaction vanishes instantly. In its place, a terrifying shadow moves in: boredom. Humanity falls into the endless trap of climbing new peaks, only to find utter emptiness at the summit. Look at the life of a mole. It digs all its life in the dark, chews dry roots, and flees predators just to give birth to identical offspring, and then die. We humans are no different. We build skyscrapers, plunge into fierce competitions. At the end of the day, we are just moles in business suits. How do we endure this reality? There are two paths of deliverance. The first, aesthetic contemplation through art. When you stand before a great painting or listen to profound poetry, you forget yourself. You become a pure eye of world knowing, standing outside the current of time and desire. Of all the arts, music stands at the absolute pinnacle. Painting and sculpture only copy individual representations of the material world. But music is different. Music bypasses the physical world. It is the direct reflection of the cosmic will itself in the form of sound waves. But art lasts only for a fleeting moment. Permanent deliverance appears only when we step into the ethics of compassion. That is when you realize the boundary between self and other is merely an illusion. The pain of another, or even of an injured animal, is your own pain. For all are tormented by the same universal will. The absolute zenith is the denial of the will. It occurs when the mind actively extinguishes every spark of desire within. When the fire of desire dies out, the pendulum finally stops. What remains is not a terrifying void, but an unshakable peace. Calm as a mirror-like lake without a single ripple.